Hello and welcome to today's podcast. I'm Jason Druker, Chief Commercial Officer of SFC Capital, the UK's most active early stage investment fund. And today I am rejoined, because this is part 2, by two very special guests from SFC, Stephen Page, the founder and CEO. Hi, Stephen.
Hi.
And Ed Pryor, the head of investor services. Hi, Ed.
Hi, Jason.
So as we all know, the UK's autumn budget was announced yesterday. We're coming to you today, which is Thursday, the 31st of October, Halloween. But there's not much to be spooked about, or maybe there is. Ed, what did we learn yesterday?
Well, the Chancellor gave an assured performance at the dispatch box. And I think that initially, after quite a lot of trailing of the budget that was done, we were all a bit relieved that things weren't quite as drastic as they might have been. That said, over the last 24 hours, there's certainly been a lot of confusion in the market, and the devil's certainly in the details. And I think that in reality, we're not going to find out all of the details about what everything means for the next few days and probably a couple of weeks.
And Stephen, is that your perspective as well? What did you take from Rachel Reeves' first performance?
Well, I think as we expected, really, there's no changes to the SEIS and EIS tax schemes, but there are one or two other items in the budget that could have some impact upon people's decisions to invest under those schemes. One for the older investor would be the treatment of IHT, inheritance tax, with regard to holdings in unquoted shares, including EIS and SEIS, as well as AIM shares. And whilst this is not yet law, we hope that there may be some adjustments to that, because it could have some effect on how people are thinking. For the older investor, I don't think it will have any impact whatsoever on young investors.
No, and I think practically speaking, this might have been something that wasn't completely thought through at budget time. And that's why it's good that we go through consultation periods post-budget. There are debates in Parliament. It gives the markets an opportunity to put their case forward. And I think this is an example of where that's needed, because as we all know, when you're investing in startups, the valuation is quite hypothetical until an exit is realized. And so practically speaking, how the government would actually value these businesses is quite impossible. So my hunch is that we'll go through a consultation period. I think these things will be realized by the Treasury, and quite quickly we'll find that SEIS and EIS will be excluded. But that's still to be seen, that's still to be decided. I've spoken to a couple of members of Parliament today to try and seek clarification. And they're in turn going to be speaking to the Treasury to try and get that information. So we'll see where it goes. But I think that probably we're going to have to wait to find out what the final decision will be. Having said that, I'm confident that SEIS and EIS will not be classed in that bucket, because it will be impossible to manage from the Treasury's point of view.
Interesting. So just going back a little bit, if we can, and also let's think as well about the impact on founders of what's been talked about in the budget yesterday. And for anybody who's listening who may have been under a rock for the last 24 hours, we know that capital gains tax is going up, not going up by maybe as much as some people had expected or had been trailed. And if you listened to our podcast last week, you'd have heard Ed talking about how certain things are leaked in certain newspapers. And I think what we're now learning is that even that news needs to be taken with somewhere between a pinch and a fistful of salt. But CGT is up, but not as much as we expected. But where all the headlines are is employers' national insurance contributions going up by 1.2% to 15%. And obviously that has an impact for founders who are running businesses and paying staff and thinking about bringing on more people. Stephen or Ed, whomever might prefer it, how did you feel about the changes, or rather the lack of changes in the short term, to entrepreneurs relief, or the, delicately put, business asset disposal relief as it's now known?
I think my view on both those is that it will not have much effect on founders. Firstly, the national insurance employers. There was also something in that, what was disclosed yesterday, where the allowance for small companies goes up from 5 to 10,000. Or most startups employ few people, 10, 15, 5. And so the impact upon their costs is not going to be significant as long as they realise they can get that extra. They can get 10,000 relief. Add to that for the founders, the fact that the tax will go up on their first $1 million that they eventually one day take out of the company or when they sell the company. That will go up over the course of the next couple of years to 18%. My view on that, it will have no effect whatsoever. People think that entrepreneurs are studying what's going to happen in 5 years' time. Oh dear, if I only make 20 million and I've got to pay another 4%, I better not do it. It's nonsense. They will not even be thinking about that. So no one that I know as an entrepreneur and will have any interest in that situation. It will be ignored and entrepreneurs will get on and do their business as usual.
In a way, it would be a nice problem to have.
Absolutely.
Right. Let's get to the exit before worrying about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, true.
Ed?
And credit to the market, because there was a big push over the last couple of weeks from entrepreneurs and investors to basically tell the Treasury, stop with this planned cancellation of entrepreneurs' relief. And the message was clearly heard because that was very much on the table, we understand, and it was then taken off at the last minute. So credit to the industry, and actually it shows that we do have a voice and we can use it quite clearly and quite impactfully.
And hopefully that's telling for organizations, trade organizations in our space of SEIS, EIS, VCT and the like, and it gives added incentive to get out there now until the finance bill becomes law, and there's still many steps towards that, to have an influence and to bring clarity and certainty, for example, on inheritance tax. Let's bring it to a close, gentlemen, but maybe finishing on a high. I think it would be unfair on this new government if we didn't praise them a little bit for a return to some form of spending. So some of the things that I was really excited about is another mention of the National Wealth Fund, an actual explicit mention of EIS and VCTs, and we can infer SEIS into that as well, and that these are good schemes that encourage entrepreneurs and investors. £1 billion of funding going into aerospace, 2 billion into the automotive space, and 520 million, £500 million into life sciences, innovation, manufacturing, lots of really good things and regional, all the while as well. Any other perspectives, gents?
Well, I think there's a key message to take from the budget, which is that SEIS and EIS remain very, very attractive vehicles for investors. Yes, the capital gains tax increases weren't what we were expecting, but they have gone up. So having the 50% capital gains reinvestment relief allowance with SEIS and obviously capital gains deferral through EIS makes it an incredibly important fixture in the tax efficient space for investors. And so, long may that continue, really.
And as an investor, I would be thinking, well, capital gains tax going up, so why not invest more into SEIS where I'm not going to pay any? So it's actually a bigger saving as a result. So that was good. And I think overall the budget could have been an awful lot worse. And overall, I think it's absolutely fine for SEIS and EIS and the tax incentives that are in position. So it's been very good.
And just looking at the kind of competitiveness of UK PLC and as for the UK to be a place to do business, I'm always nervous about parroting government lines, but they are saying that we've still got the most competitive tax system in the European G7 countries. Notice the European word there. But so, we remain an attractive place to start and grow a business. Certainly, we're hoping that the government will take seriously their pledge to be a government of growth, and we can continue to see different initiatives fall through. I think that the investment going into the Science and Innovation Department is really important. So too is the creation of a new office in that department, which is all about cutting red tape and making the UK more competitive. So, there are positives to take.
There are indeed, unless, of course, you like to fly privately. And on that note, Stephen and Ed, thank you both very much for sharing your insights today. Thank you to all of our listeners for tuning in. Please be sure to follow SFC Capital in all the usual places. And to learn more, you can visit www.sfccapital.com.